At least it's January. There's not much good stuff January.
I thought that Just Mercy movie was coming out in January, but I guess it's coming out before the end of the year.
I saw something was supposed to come out good in January. It was a horror film or something, but
It's not the Michael is Jordan movie?
I don't think so, no.
I refuse to use improper grammar with his name.
I was making changes up to like an hour ago. This one's hard.
Wait, this isn't is this our last episode of the year?
Yeah?
My math.
Damn, see, we always have bad math on this show.
It's only when I do this show, as far as anybody else knows. Right. Nobody has to know. You know, I really only looked at American films, so I kind of feel bad that I didn't go into the Japanese.
It's just when they spell them over in English, it's so phonetically done.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that just if it's something that I don't if it's something I don't know, I'll have to look it up and like for the description.
Oh, half of my list is non-American.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm so cultured.
Maybe it won't be so close then.
The white guy's bringing in more ethnicities into his list.
Just because I'm brown doesn't mean that I was supposed to do anything, okay?
Okay, 3 of my films are helmed by minorities. Hey, but that's pretty good, isn't it?
3
I wasn't
out of
aiming.
10?
I wasn't aiming for that, but that's.
You said 3 out of 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. Have starring minorities? What'd you say?
Helmed, minority productions, directed or acting.
Does minority include gender minorities? Do female directors as well, or just you're thinking racial minorities?
I have one that is a minority female. I have one that almost made it in. That was a female. It's probably like number 11 or 12.
I think I only picked 11. It was pretty much just out of the movies that I saw. I didn't go into any crazy research. And I think they were all in theater.
Well, I hope they're movies you saw.
Well, I don't know. I didn't see a ton. So
I didn't really see that last black man in San Francisco, but I heard it's pretty damn good. I'm gonna make that number 7.
It's gonna go on my list.
Put Little Women in there. Get a woman director.
The one that's not out yet. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 2 honorables. Oh man, I gotta cut 2 down. I'm gonna cut.
One of my directors is Jewish. Does that count as a minority?
No.
Okay.
Only the Safdie brothers. the Safdie brothers. I got it. We're done.
Actually, 2 are Jewish.
Oh, there you go. Well, I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna have to pick, and then I'm gonna put this one as an honorable mention. All right, let's do this then.
You are listening to Coast to Coast Film Reviews with Raj and David. Let's talk movies.
Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Coast to Coast Film Reviews. This is episode number 10, in fact. And yes, we made it this long. I'm just as surprised as David is too. It's the final episode of the year also. But before we go any further, let me introduce my beloved co-host. Here he is, a man whose fame is exceeded only by his anonymity. It's David.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Yeah, I try to be like famously reclusive.
Famously unfamous. Not infamous.
Infamously.
The three
well, really, is infamy and famous is the same thing nowadays, right?
Oh, yeah. Sadly, probably. So I was thinking, wasn't that from Three Amigos when they were like, "What is infamous?" And they were trying to figure out whether it was a good thing.
Episode 10. That's a milestone.
Any words for those in the audience who are listening to this? Our audience who's been with us for like 10 episodes now.
Well, if you aim for the moon, you'll end up amongst the stars.
Wow, it's true. The moon is among the stars. I'm not sure if it's literal. That was brilliant. That was really good. Is it from anyone? Did anyone else say that before you?
Oh, that was probably like at a high school graduation or something.
Was it your yearbook? Yearbook quote. My words for audience is please tune in for episode 11. There will hopefully be an 11. We cannot predict the future. You never know. I don't know. Someone may get hit by a bus, but I think David would not hesitate to continue this show should something happen to me. He'd just be like, just find some other minority.
That's what Raj would want.
I'm going to intentionally put in my will to David, do not continue this show. And you're the one reading it at the eulogy, at the reading. It's like, and it says specifically to me and only for me to read this. I just continue the show and keep all the money.
Well, if I can't find anybody in California, maybe I can find somebody like in the panhandle of Florida, because it'd be like the Gulf Coast. So we can keep the name and everything.
Could make it work.
I have to find ways. Maybe somebody from the good old state of Mississippi.
Oh, gross. You're not. I mean, hopefully there's someone perfect for my role there. But, I would have loved to hear maybe some words before this year end that, I'm irreplaceable and that you could not go on without me. But I guess that was too much hope.
But we'll talk about that off air.
We can always edit. You can always edit it afterwards. So.
You could do it like in the voiceovers we were talking about.
This is David.
Well, Raj, this has been an awesome year in cinema. We're doing the top 10 each this week, and it was difficult.
Yeah.
After like halfway into my list, I had a list of 25 films that in any other year could have easily been in the top 10. And it's hard. It's hard this year. So it's a good problem to have. There's been years where I was scrambling just to figure out if there's 10 films I actually liked.
You made sure all of yours are 2019 though, right?
Well, the rule that I gave myself, I did break this rule once in the list, but more for the benefit of the year than not. It has to be wide release in North America in 2019.
Okay.
Like if it was a festival release, if you look up certain films, you'll find different years of release. That's because one website might count it going to Cannes and screening once, and then it takes another year for it to get a release. So if it went to somewhere like Cannes or TIFF or Sundance last year, but no one else is able to see it until this year, I count it as a this year film.
Right. Okay. Yeah, when it was actually out.
Yeah, don't go by Wikipedia for your dates. You got to look a little deeper than just Wikipedia for the dates.
Wait, why? Not that I did that.
Well, Wikipedia will usually have the earliest date.
Oh, like the earliest release dates when they opened.
Yeah, if you look at like IMDb, it will tell you. Some of them will even tell you by country when they're released. So I have a couple films that been around the festival circuit for a while, but a mass audience could not see them until 2019. And you're going to see the release dates. You're going to see more issues if you're looking at foreign films, or if you're looking at small independent films who did the festival circuit first, or art films that want to hit Cannes or Venice. Or Sundance, and then they don't get a wide release until after they're purchased.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that. Well, like I said, most of mine were... Actually, I think all of mine are American films. If that doesn't ruin it. If you were trying to guess if anything in particular was on my list. I think...
No Bollywood?
Hey, you know what? Don't joke about it. I was considering... putting some Bollywood movies in one of these days, like in the reviews, and I'm not sure anybody's going to check it out. That's the thing. But
Did you check out Thumbad?
Thumbad?
That's the one I told you about, the Indian horror film.
Oh, the horror film. No, I didn't. And not only because you recommended it, but I forgot all about it.
Yeah, that was a pretty solid horror film this year.
Oh man, it was for 20. That could have been my 2019 Bollywood pick.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
And I wouldn't have been mad at you for just trying to throw an Indian reference into the show, but definitely it's deserving of being recognized.
That could have been the one where I can. Well, what did you think about it? And then you would have had nothing to say, for a
Well,
change.
it'd be really embarrassing if I had that on my list. And you did.
Oh, there should be a rule. You're not allowed to upstand me with Indian movies. How dare you?
Well, it's amazing what's on Netflix for Indian films.
Oh yeah.
There's such a huge selection of Indian films, and they really started doing that probably about last year or so, right?
Well, I'd say the first Hindi movie I saw on there was back when I was in Michigan, so at least 2 years. I want to say it was probably like 4 years ago when I accidentally found some Hindi movies. It suggested it to me, which I was like, do you know my last name?
Was it right next to Project Mindy?
Well, my concern was like, is there a camera connected? Because I was like, I think I had my Xbox Connect at the time. I was like, oh, it can see color. I was like, it knows. I must have been talking to my parents one day and like, oh yeah, start changing my suggestion list as it detects what language I'm speaking to check.
Well, I notice it when you do like a broad search, like you go into horror and you're looking, it's like, then it just goes into a different language. And I'm like, there is a lot of Indian horror films.
It's getting popular and it's getting more diverse too.
Hey, I love cinema of the world, so I'm always open to check other cultures' cinema. So
it's beautiful, man. You have a beautiful heart to let in those foreign films.
I don't care where you're from. If you can entertain me for 2 hours, you're cool.
That sounded less beautiful. If you just entertained me, dance, monkey, entertain me for a few hours. Get the respect and throw it away.
Well, who's going to start off our list?
I'm going to hand it off to you. Let's go with our top 10 lists. Let's see who's going to sync who first. I'm sure I'm not going to have any of those.
We'll probably have a couple overlap. Well, honorable mentions.
Are you going to start with honorable mentions?
Well, shouldn't you start with honorable mentions before we go into the meat?
I always thought they go last. Like, after you've completed the list, and then you say, like, if it was a tie for a certain one, because you rank them, so it would be easier for you to do that. Where it's like, well, I couldn't choose between these two, but this is the one I went with. Like, that's how I always heard it.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you look at it. We can do it later if you like.
Whichever. Because those are, like, the ones that fell out of rank, right?
Yeah.
Out of your... Right?
Well, I'll start off with my number 10.
Ooh, okay.
This one had a weird release, so it's really hard to... I was going back and forth. Am I going to put this on my 2019 list? Because they released it in the theater for one day.
Okay.
At the end of 2018. And then it was like on YouTube for purchase for a couple hours. Yeah, it's weird. I've never seen that before. Okay. But then it wasn't available unless you're on YouTube for a couple hours or lucky enough to be in a couple cities that it showed in. We really didn't get a real release of this film until March. And it's my first A24 entry on the list.
Oh. I thought you were going to say it was your first, like, you've ever seen.
No,
it's the first of many on the list.
It's Climax, directed by Gaspar Noé. This film is very strange. Anybody who's familiar with Gaspar's work before, he's done the films Irreversible, Into the Void. My personal favorite of the bunch is I Stand Alone. Then he did Love. I try to forget that one exists, so I don't. But other than that, his catalog is amazing. But this film follows a French dance troupe. Well, I guess it's French. They got some Belgium, and it's a multinational dance group, and they're in an after party, after a rehearsal, and they're all celebrating, partying, and somebody puts some LSD into the punch bowl, and insanity happens after that. I think we talked a little bit about this film when we had Alex on.
A couple times, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just a really crazy film. The cinematography is amazing and almost nauseating at some points, but in the best way of being nauseated possible. It just goes crazy, and it's just like a pure descent into hell. And I love Descents into Hell. What can I say? So easily well, let me put it this way: it wasn't easily number 10. There's a bunch of films that could have been number 10, but this is the film that stuck with me, and I had to watch it a couple times upon first getting it. So Climax, Gaspar Noé, check that one out if you haven't already.
Yeah, we discussed that when you had Alex on, and then also I think when it might have been when you rewatched it the first time we mentioned it on the show. Okay. So I'm just going to get this one out of the way because I know you're probably waiting for me to talk about this one.
Well,
so
I already know what your number one is.
While I have... these aren't ranked, so you can't judge me for that. That's why I always say not ranked, because then when I get to number one, it's like, oh, this is your number one.
Mine are ranked.
So my first one is Endgame.
See, I thought you were going to leave that till the end.
No, that's what I'm saying. And there's other ones. I have a wide interest in movies. Like, it's not just Marvel. Okay, David?
I know, but it's the easiest part to make fun of.
And my personal fan base of pretty much just my wife and two other people that I personally know in the group, they know that I like movies that are also non-Marvel. Those are just my two categories. It's either Marvel or non-Marvel. And it's easier that way. But Endgame was, it's while it's not entirely great for all of its acting and stuff, it was such a climax for the whole series. Like, after 10 years, starting with Iron Man and the whole series of movies through Thor and Captain America and all those things, like it was a big final coming for this movie, and it was really important to me in that way. Like, I'm kind of a comic book geek and stuff. And it tugged at on some heartstrings. It certainly pissed me off with some of the shitty time travel plot line, but it was finally a decent long end to it. I'm glad they didn't do a cut up short of it. That it pushed the validation time for my parking at the theater. So it was over, like, I think it was 3 hours and 20 minutes or something, and they only covered 2 hours. But it was really good. I liked it. It was a lot of fun. I didn't see it a second time, which I was surprised myself. I never got a chance to plan a second viewing. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was back in April, and I think that was actually the first on my list in terms of this year. I think that's how I'm going to rank it. I'm just going to put it in order of, like, when they came out during the year.
Off subject, I just had to bring this up because somebody sent it to me. It is kind of on subject, but it's not about the film. It is a meme with Christopher Columbus with the gauntlet on, and the next picture is a bunch of Indians disappearing. I was like, that's the
why? I don't get it.
Because he has Thanos' gauntlet, and he's snapping his fingers and making Native Americans disappear. It's like the most fucked up meme.
I mean, I think that would have been at least maybe more humane than what actually...
He definitely killed more than half he came in contact with. But I have not finished this movie yet, so it's still on my watch list.
Endgame, or the one you're going to talk about?
Endgame. I have not finished it yet.
What do you? Hour what? Where are you at?
I think I kind of shut it off when the time travel came up.
Oh my god! Oh, I've been meaning to tell you one more thing because we were talking about CG effects and stuff and that. Did you see the white suits they wore?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Oh, we did? Okay,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think we
because
talked about that before I got to that point, but yeah, I saw that. They did a good job. It doesn't.
how
It's
necessary
not
it was.
distracting.
Yeah, I'm
It's
not
totally
sure.
unnecessarily done, but it's not very distracting.
Like, I don't know why they needed to do that, but they certainly did it all CG and everything. And then, yeah, we talked about the action sequences and stuff. Like, I didn't realize, like, you always, rip on me about that. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's all pretty much done CG, I guess. But when I actually looked into it and I was looking at like the VFX and the artists and stuff, like what they say, I was like, oh shoot, there was a lot actually done, a lot of physical stunts, more done than I thought. So I surprised myself when I looked that stuff up. But tell me your number 9.
My number 9 is this film is one of the few that has 100 on Rotten Tomatoes
Mm.
at probably close to 100 reviews now. I know it was over 70. It is a Japanese film called One Cut of the Dead.
Oh,
It is amazing. It's called like a Japanese zombie comedy. It is so much more than that. Um, Reading the synopsis just does not give it merit. Um, Even talking about how this film is put together, how it's structured, is a spoiler in and of itself. So I won't go into it, but it's pretty much broken down into 3 segments. Um, the One Cut of the Dead is the first segment is they're filming a zombie film, and it's all done in one continuous cut. And it's probably about a half an hour, which is pretty amazing in and of itself, just technical wise. So I'm watching it and I thought, oh, that's cool, but it's kind of run of the mill. And then the second segment kicks in and you realize some things. You're like, okay, this is interesting. Then the third segment comes, and it's not. And I say segment, it's not like an anthology or anything, but it's just kind of how the film's broken down to the third
right.
act, and it was hilarious. It was thought provoking. Um, it really opens up your eyes, with humor to how hard it is to make an independent film. Um, so I really suggest watching it. They made this film for $25,000,
Wow.
and it's 100 on Rotten Tomatoes.
How
I
long
mean,
has it? When did it come out in 2019?
let's see when it released.
Sitting there with 100, man.
It got a Japanese release a couple years ago. Um, Let me see.
Is this the one that
It
you were
doesn't have a
saying?
date. I know it's a 2019.
Is
I'm thinking
is
about
this the
middle
one
of the
that you
year.
were saying it's not a 2019 exactly, but then you were going by the wide release date?
Now, most of these I'm going by wide release date, so I have a couple that fall under this. I might have on my list looking. I think I have one more that falls into this category of being released overseas before anybody else got a chance to see it. This was Shutter brought this over. Shutter bought the rights to it, um, so they put it out on their streaming service, and then they just recently put it out for streaming to everybody and the physical copy within probably the last month or two. But I'm gonna say it came out maybe July, August for wide viewing.
Okay.
Um, and even if you're not a horror fan, I recommend this to you. If you're just a film fan and want to see something that is different, and because this is such an original premise, and once you see it, it's like you'll think this is such an original premise, but it's so. Why has no one ever done this before? It's not like it's crazy, strange, weird. It's something that you will kind of pinch yourself like, man, I wish I could have thought of something like that because it's but the way that it's done is just amazing. So definitely recommend checking that out. One Cut of the Dead. Again, that was put out this year, directed we were talking about Japanese names earlier, but this guy's name is
I'm
a hard
waiting.
one.
Yeah, do it.
Ueda.
Nice.
Ueda.
Okay.
So check that out. I can't wait to see
Ueda?
from this guy.
All right. Then I will go on to my next one. My 9, right? Well, I'm only on 9 now.
On 9, yep.
9. Okay, so the next one, I was surprised how much I like this one. This was also kind of a long run time. Came out in May. My kids enjoyed it. I took them to it. It is not a rock movie, as you may have thought. You probably thought I was going to say Jumanji 2, but I'm saving that for later. It is, in fact, Godzilla, King of Monsters. Did you get to see this one?
No, I haven't seen that one. My stepson went to go see it in theaters, but I have not seen it yet.
Wait, what did he think?
He liked it.
Okay, good, yeah.
So
you heard good things.
He's not really into all that. It's not like he has a big knowledge, but he liked that film.
Yeah, what I liked about it is that compared to like the other Godzilla movies that I've seen growing up, and I don't recall like everything about them, but the one thing I remember is just like there was so much of the going through like the people and understanding the plot and stuff, and I just want so badly. I just wanted to watch the monsters fight, and I felt like they did so much of that in this movie. There were so many scenes where it was just like, oh, hold on, this Tamagotchi. Been waiting for it to fucking. This is the job a father has. Okay, let's switch. Gotta feed it fucking candy. Eat the candy. Okay, it's gonna beep again in 5 seconds. This is like my what future grandchildren are gonna be like. My daughter's gonna be like, I'm going to bed. Look after the kids. Look after my Tamagotchi. So, but yeah, what I loved about this movie was that they really just let the monsters just play, where there was no dialogue between the people, and like I don't care who the evil people are. Like I just want to see Godzilla fight. I want to see what like just some raw battle between monsters, and it felt like that was a good majority of the movie, and they really got that perspective on the view. Like do you remember Cloverfield?
Yeah.
It was like almost like I felt like it was Cloverfield, but without the nauseating camera work. Because I think my wife and I, when we first went to go see that in theaters, we had like, I think we were in the second row, if not the front row for Cloverfield. Oh my God, I could not watch. There were so many moments when I had to look away from the screen because that just jarring camera work for the whole thing. Oh my God, I've never been nauseous at a movie before. I was like, oh, holy shit. I thought that I was immune to that. But that movie made me so sick. But this one, we were well placed away. And I felt like it really got that good perspective, like when they would go at the human level and they would like tilt the camera just up, but you still couldn't see like how large these monsters were. It was still like you could only see like these gigantic feet clomping and stomping around. And it was like, wow, those really good shots. It didn't seem cheap or fake or, I don't know how much money went into it. I didn't look up the budget, but I really liked it. And I didn't give two shits for the human actors. I really just liked it for the monsters. It was really good. I liked it.
Well, I'll go into my number 8, The House That Jack Built.
Oh, I still gotta see this.
This one also had a weird release. It did like one day in the theaters and then caught a lot of flack because they aired the unrated version. And it really pissed off the rating board. This is a film by Lars von Trier, who I'm also a big fan of. He did Melancholia, Antichrist, Nymphomaniac, both volumes. Just an amazing artist, in my opinion. He's very divisive. People either love him or hate him, and I'm on the love side. But it's a serial killer film starring Matt Dillon as a serial killer. We don't get to see Matt Dillon much anymore, so it surprised me, the casting there. There's some very disturbing material in this film. There are deaths of children, which Von Trier is one of those people who try to push his audience's buttons. That's what he's known for. So a lot of people will have issues watching some of this. But he uses so much symbolism in this film. It is so deep in thought, and this film feels very self-reflective. It feels like he's questioning himself. Why is he making films, and why does he do these things in this film? So it made it very meta at the same time, just the symbolism that he used. And Matt Dillon was amazing in it. He's kind of an OCD serial killer, and they even use that for a little bit of dark humor here and there. But some people might have this as a 2018 film. It didn't get like a wide digital release until, I'm going to say, about March. But if you're a Von Trier fan, or you just like good art house symbolic film, this is a film you should check out.
Okay. Yeah, that's been on my list for a while now. I just never made time for it. What was your rating in the group, or do you remember, or if you can
This is before the group, so I never wrote up a review, but this would probably be an 8.5 for me.
I think you mentioned this because I'm thinking, when did I even hear about it from you? I think it was in that that unaired pilot that I have yet to post some bonus clips of. I think that's when you were giving me your top 10 or something.
Yeah, I think we were talking about what my top 10 so far was.
Because I remember I did a funny
picture
of him.
It's probably changed half. Half of the films are probably different now.
Oh, jeez.
The last few months have been really strong.
Yeah, I'm looking at my list, and I was actually, because I said I was going to order them by the month they came out anyway. I was like, man, they're all like October and after. A good portion of them.
Yeah, 5. I think 5 different from what we spoke. So half the list has changed in the last 2-3 months. Okay. So what is your number? Are you on your number 8?
This is my number 8. My number 8, which is 1, 2, my third one. Okay. My number 8 is going to be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which came out in July. You don't even like this. Wait, are you saying because you didn't like it, or because it's on your list?
No, I just that movie is good for a half an hour, if that.
Well, I mean, I know you were a big fan of those driving scenes, but
yeah.
But so here's why I liked it. I really liked it because I didn't give a shit that it was Tarantino. If somebody else did it, maybe it would have come out differently. But maybe because it was Tarantino, fine. I'm not gonna lie. But what I loved about it wasn't just the climax. So the climax really did it. Like, that was a great ending for it. But I loved like the relationship, that friendship between him and who am I thinking? DiCaprio and Pitt. I felt their chemistry was pretty good, and I've been looking for that chemistry. Like, I always go back to like Ocean's 11. I think of that Brad Pitt and Clooney chemistry, like just that witty banter it would just seem so perfect. And whenever they try to do some kind of buddy kind of role stuff in movies, I always try to compare it to that. I was like, is it as good as that in my head? And so I just really loved their chemistry, and just it was dynamic. It wasn't that they were just the perfect friends. Brad Pitt was more or less just the perfect friend for DiCaprio. He's just so supportive, and he's always been there for him, and just that history they have together on screen was really good and really heartwarming. And his own DiCaprio's fight with being with sobriety, and that one of my favorite scenes is when he's in his trailer and he's just talking to himself, and he's just like, just so self-deprecating, when he's just completely like beating himself up. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? All right, we're gonna get through this. Like it was just felt really real to me, and I really appreciated that. I was like, wow, that's so honest. And then how they showed that scene, how they were doing like the camera work in that one scene, I thought that was really cool. Do you remember the scene where he's who is he talking to? I want to say it wasn't Luke Wilson, was it? Him and Luke Wilson are sitting down he's sitting on a table, and they're trying to shoot the scene, and then they have to do it over, so they actually have to like pan the camera back around. And I was like, oh, that's really cool to be able to see that. Like, obviously it's not an actual part of the movie, but to see like the film work done, like I really like that whole thing, and that girl that he meets on set.
Well, the scene that I like the most is such a non-scene almost, but it's when Brad Pitt and DiCaprio are watching the old videos or the old shows, and they're just sitting there like two guys kind of joking.
Yeah.
I thought that was so brilliantly done. I've only seen one other critic actually bring that scene up, but I think it was just such a good scene, and it was so realistic that that scene really made me kind of smile and chuckle a little bit. Other than the final few scenes, which I think is definitely the best part of the film, but that's kind of leading. That scene is leading into the climax of the film. It, in my opinion, it was just too long, and just felt like it felt almost like, I don't like using the word, but it was almost pretentious.
Yeah, like when I was first introduced to Tarantino movies, I really felt like I was like, wow, these are so long. Like, get to the point, get to the point. And I think nowadays, maybe I'm just older and I've seen so many. I've just come to expect it. I'm just ready to like lend him this portion, this small portion of my life. Like, okay, just do something good with this. So I just watch it with this hope that I'm not going to be, disappointed. And I look for why. Why is the scene so long? And like waiting, like, okay, maybe there's something, like he just wants to lull us into this. This is his daily habit. This is life, and maybe that's a cheap way of extending runtime. And I don't know, but like I said, I enjoy him. I enjoy most of his movies. We talked about this one time. I'm not sure.
Well, I
off
like
the
or
top of my
love
head.
all his films other than this one. That's honest. He has one of the strongest catalogs in the business. It's just this film did not do it for me.
Yeah, at least you like the ending too. We love that ending.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was what I felt without spoiling too much. If they would have extended that ending and gone back to the ranch,
oh man.
I think that would and they could have cut down some other parts of the movie. I think that would have made it even stronger.
Yeah, like man, because the second you know that she's Sharon Tate, that's not a giveaway. That's who she plays. The
Yeah.
second you know she's Sharon Tate, then, and if you know the Hollywood story behind it, then you're like, oh, that's what this movie is about. And then you're like, wait, who the hell are these guys, and why does that matter with this? And so how he ties that in, whether it was, Hollywood sacrilege or not, I don't know what that controversy, if there was anything behind that, but as it gets to the end, it's just like, oh, when is something going to become of this? It starts to get, comical. Holy cow. I'm
Comedical.
like, comedical. That's a word that I've just made up. So it becomes comical, and like, I liked it. I really liked it. Anyway,
So I'm gonna go to my number 7.
7.
Already, we're going through these bad boys. A marriage, or I say, Marriage Story.
Yes.
Directed by Noah Baumbach, starring Adam Driver and your favorite actress, Scarlett Johansson. We've talked about this for a whole segment, so I won't get deep, but it's just one of those stories that drag a lot out of me emotionally, and if a film can do that, I'm going to have a high regard for it. And Adam Driver just had the performance of his career and one of the best of the year easily. So without keeping on talking about it, I just really enjoyed this film, and I would like to see Adam possibly get nominated for the Oscar. That would I don't think he should win, but he definitely deserves a nomination.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I wonder who are the competitors. So did we say this? I don't remember if you told me exactly. Do we know? You told me a date. We'll know exactly in the end of January.
Yeah, I think the third week of January is
Okay.
when nominations come out.
Okay.
I think Adam Driver will be a no-brainer for a nomination. I
There's
think
a couple movies he did this
he,
year.
he did the Dead Don't Die, which I was really let down by.
Hmm.
That was kind of a zombie comedy with him and Bill Murray.
Okay.
Tilda Swinton was in it as well, so they had a very strong
Wow.
cast. I think the script was just really weak. Um, that was one of my biggest letdowns of the year. But in this film, him and Joaquin Phoenix, I think, are two no-brainers for the nomination, and we'll probably see. I think we have a really good chance of seeing Robert De Niro in there as well.
Oh man, for Irishman, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, did you want to, since you didn't get to talk too much about it, and we already did a segment, did you want to throw one of your honorable mentions in for this at this time?
Yeah, I'll throw one of them in. Let me see. The Nightingale,
Oh yeah.
directed by Jennifer Kent. And this is one I was fighting over this one being in my top 10. It's a very difficult film not to put in my top 10, but it takes place in Australia during British imperialism. And it's about an Irish woman who is, this is back when Australia was pretty much a prison colony. And she is a prisoner. And some British soldiers lead her into having to seek some revenge. I'll leave it at that, but it's
Very well done. That was very well done.
and it's almost kind of like a journey road type of movie. There's no cars, but they're journeying to try to seek out this revenge. And Jennifer Kent did The Babadook, which was an amazing movie, and this is her follow-up film, and more people need to see it.
This was your gender minority pick, right? Because that's what I was gonna guess.
No,
earlier.
no, she is a female, but she's Australian, white Australian woman.
No, gender minority.
Well, I have a minority female coming up.
Oh, this wasn't that one either. Oh,
No,
okay.
that's just an honorable mention.
Oh my goodness. This is the one I was gonna guess Kent earlier, but I didn't want to say it out loud.
Yeah,
okay.
we said before the show I had almost 2 films with women directors in my top 10, but I definitely have one in my top 10 by a female.
All right. Then we are on my 7?
Yep.
My 7 is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this one came out in August. The trailers make it out to seem like just a straight up horror movie, but I was surprised that this was pretty well. Actually, okay, to be honest, I don't watch trailers anymore for movies that I want to see, so maybe it was more revealing to the genre or how it was going to tell. But the movie is Ready or Not, and I was surprised how much fun I had watching this. It was funny. It was such a dark comedy about what's going on in the movie anyway. It's hilarious. There's some times when it's just hilarious, and then the climax is just like I don't know, I didn't see that coming, but it was a lot of fun to watch, and my daughter wanted to come with me to see it, and I was like, well, I'm glad I didn't, because it was just a little bit, just a tad too gory for her, my 6-year-old, it's now 7-year-old daughter. Sorry. Yeah, but that one was a lot of fun to watch. There was some good casting too. There really wasn't a bad acting job in there. I'm trying to think back. A couple like callbacks to people who I haven't seen in a while. But the main actress, I don't know what else she was in, but she looks familiar. I feel like I've seen her in something recently too. She almost reminds me of a Margot Robbie. She has a Margot Robbie look about her. But yeah, she was really good. I liked all the actors in that one. That was definitely worth a buy, even.
Yeah, it was in my 25 films that I was whittling down, so it was one of my favorites of the year. They did a really good job with that, and definitely one of the better just horror films. There's a lot of films that are they're kind of genre blending, but that's obviously just a full-on horror film, and that was one of the better just full-on horror films of the year.
Yeah, yeah. I was surprised. Like, did you know going in that it was gonna be funny at all?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't. In that ending is just.
Yeah, because I was just like, oh, it's just gonna be a horror film, and like, I really don't. I just set my bar real low for horror films nowadays, and like when I'm surprised, I'm like, wow, really? Usually they hit the bar, or like they don't make it anyway. But yeah, this one was just like, holy cow, it just made me laugh, and I was like, oh shoot. And but did you ever? Well, where I was going with that was, did you ever see the full trailer before seeing the movie?
No, I stayed away. I like to stay
Okay.
away from those trailers.
I wasn't sure if anyone is as cuckoo and neurotic about trailers as I am, but man, those
I'll read a little
trailers
bit of
nowadays.
synopsis, or if it's a critic I know that's very good at just passing on a nuance without getting deep, I'll maybe read a little bit of what they say. But other than that, I try to stay away.
Like maybe I'll even try to go see an IMDb, like how they have their one-liners at the top. But then I'm scared because they show screen caps sometimes, like at the very top of the web page. I'm like, ah, shit, I don't want to see that. It's like, oh, a vampire sneaks into the house at midnight and kills everyone. And oh, okay, got it. Does that happen in the first 5 minutes?
I just go to Wikipedia and read through the whole plot.
Thanks.
Wikipedia just gives it all away, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's no shame. No shame. Sure, sirs, share with us your number 7, right? 6? No, I'm losing. I can't keep track of this.
9, 8, 7. Yeah, I'm on to my 6. This is one we just talked about with a woman director.
Mm-hmm.
This film. This was another Shudder release exclusive. It came out in Mexico a couple years ago and just languished. Nobody was buying the film, I guess, to distribute it anywhere else. The story behind this is the director, Isa Lopez, who is Mexican. She drummed up some heat behind her film on Twitter by keep on bothering Guillermo del Toro to show her a little bit of Mexican love. But this film is called Tigers Are Not Afraid.
Oh man,
this film is just beautifully done. It's very genre blending. It's has some crime elements, some horror elements, definitely some fantasy elements. I think Ms. Lopez considers it almost like a fairy tale, which is a decent way to describe it. But it's about some kids kind of coming of age in Mexico and in poverty, growing up around the cartels, and people just come up missing in their world, parents and everything. So there's a lot of children that are left on their own and try to fend for themselves. And this explores that, and the kids getting tied up with some issues with the drug cartel. But if you like Guillermo del Toro, his films, Pan's Labyrinth, The Orphanage, things like that, you can tell that Isa Lopez is directly inspired by del Toro, which I would guess if you're a filmmaker in Mexico, that he's by far the most well-known Mexican filmmaker, and to the point of being nominated for Oscars in The Color of Water. Is that Shape of Water?
Shape, yeah.
So he's very whimsical in his darkness, and she's very whimsical in her darkness as well. But it's criminally underseen. This film is so criminally underseen. But you need to go see it. And again, you don't have to be a horror fan or a fantasy fan or a crime fan, those type of films. it's has its foot in so many genres that there's something there for everybody. And I can't wait to see more from what Lopez can do behind the camera.
This is the one that you were saying that you thought Jess might like, right? My wife might like.
Yeah, yeah. I
'cause you
know
said-
she has issues with maybe some neglecting children, but these
Me as
children
well,
kind of it's more of like parents are missing and almost like the Lost Boys type aspect. They're a little dirty and they're huddling together, but they stick together to try to get through it. So it's very interesting.
Goonies never say die.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's
It's a
but
Mexican Goonies running from drug cartel,
Yeah, I've been waiting for a day or a night, whichever, an evening when I could play it. There was the other day I was like, oh, this is a good time to play it, but we were both kind of tired, and I was like, forget it, because it's still on my list.
Yeah, and when it gets late at night and subtitles, can be difficult sometimes. Which half the movies I like to watch the subtitles, but it's almost like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. I have to second guess myself. It's like, oh, are my eyes awake enough to read? That's my number 6.
Okay, so I'm at my number 6, right? Am I doing this right?
Yeah, I started off. It's your 6.
Right. Okay. My number 6 is The Joker. The Joker that came out in Joker. Okay, just in case anyone's confused what I just said. The Joker. Just Joker, not The Joker. Joker came out in October, starring that Joaquin Phoenix guy. Played a great man. What a good job. It's been a while, because ever since Heath Ledger, I've been wondering, like, who could even possibly do a significant job that would be memorable. And I was not impressed with, as I think most people were not impressed with, Jared Leto's performance of Joker in Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad really wasn't much.
Everybody except for Jared Leto.
Jared Leto, yeah. I was gonna say, wait, Jared Leto, right? Yeah, yeah. Everyone was not impressed except for him. I don't know what they did with that. I don't know if they just gave him the keys to the car on that one, but that was god awful. But Joker was great, not because it was at all like tied to Batman. It had nothing to do with Batman. You didn't have to know squat about Batman. You didn't have to know shit about Gotham. You didn't have to know anything about DC. If you just went in not realizing Joker is at all tied to this universe, and just sat there and enjoyed a movie about a guy with some terribly disturbing history and life, just everything in the right moments falling apart, and what happens to him, what decisions he makes, and how things just well, I guess you could say work for him too. And it's really well done. Like, I really liked how well they did the script. Like, they could have really effed this whole thing up and just started throwing in Batman stuff and, like, dropping all these names and stuff, and could have really messed it up. But I like how it was super, super subtle. I could, like, probably only name a couple times when I remember hearing the name Gotham. Maybe it was the newspaper. Maybe it was on TV. And then there's your boy Robert De Niro makes an appearance in that movie too, which I was like, wow, okay, sure, why not? They needed someone, sure, just get De Niro, I guess. Just out of nowhere, I was like, why the hell they get De Niro for this? But I think he would want a bigger role. But it was really good. There was a couple cliche stuff. I can't go into it because then there would be a giveaway why. But the other actors, didn't shine super shiny, super bright. But it was really a great Joaquin Phoenix role. And it was, I hope he gets noted for his work in this one. I really don't understand the stupid stories about, controversial movie coming out and all that bullshit. I was like, whatever, such garbage.
Oh, that was insane. That's
so dumb.
It was supposed to be about them incels watching it and
I didn't even know
solidarity.
You explained that to me, this incel thing. Like, what does that have to do? I don't even know who thought up that whole thing.
Oh no, it was the media behind this film was just absolutely insane. When I saw it, I saw it in theaters the weekend it came out, and I fell in love with the film. I think it's one of the best studio films this millennium. Easily one of the best studio films. I think I've said it's the best studio film. I think you have no country for no country for old men, and you have There Will Be Blood, and you have this film. Those are the three best major studio films in the last 20 years. And I say that with total confidence. But this film was I have one issue with the film, and I just think it over-explained one of the reveals.
Oh, so you can't even really talk about it.
Yeah, and it's just over-explained. And to tell you without spoiling it, it involves his girlfriend. The explanation.
That's fine. I was gonna say, if you can explain it in like a quick 2 to 3 second bit, I'll just drop a beep over it.
Well, yeah, I don't think that spoils anything. I just think it's over-explained. There's a montage that's involved that's just not needed.
Yeah. Okay. That's what you mean.
So I think that is the one flaw that I really found in the film, and I have watched it since it's been in the theater, and I think it's amazing. Joaquin Phoenix, this is masterclass. He also did the film The Master, which I think these are his two best performances. But this film hinged on his performance, and he blew it away. The way that he turned the laughter into something that was painful was just absolutely brilliant. It's just watching him he's almost he's in every scene. I don't think there's a scene without him. And it's just the way he moved, how much weight he lost to look the way that he did. Just all around, it was just incredible. I don't think there's any way in the world he won't be nominated. And if he doesn't win, I think that it's almost criminal. But it's such an amazing film. And almost all around acclaim. There's not many people who hate on this film.
So I was gonna say, when you brought up that laugh, I was thinking about some of the scenes. Like, it was just such a, because they associated it with this what's the word, a condition that he had.
He had brain damage.
So it was just so like soul crushing to like see him not have control over something that would be normally associated with so much joy in one's life, like laughter. And he's just like, it's killing him how embarrassed he is, and how he doesn't feel this joy at that moment, and his body is just forcing him in this other direction. It was very sad, so sad just to see it. And the fact that I feel that way, like I just really appreciate that performance. It was very real. I loved it. I loved this movie.
And take Jared Leto out of the conversation. You're comparing this role against Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger, and we're talking about how great he did it. And all three of those guys did it their own way. Jack Nicholson is more of the old school gangster, more like the comic book. Heath Ledger just did the anarchist maniac, and made the role totally his own. And then Phoenix comes and makes the role totally his own. Heath Ledger was never asked to hold a whole movie down. So I have to put Joaquin above his performance, and that's saying a lot, because that's Heath Ledger won the Oscar for his performance. I never thought I would see a better Joker than Heath Ledger, but we saw it this year.
if I at any point said that this was a good performance, then it was because I thought it was at minimum on par with what I saw in Dark Knight. And I have not scoured the internet for an interview, a post movie interview with Heath Ledger, but I would love to see if there really was any kind of public talk that he gave about this role. I don't think I've ever seen one. I don't know how long after the filming that it had happened. I think was it by the release that he had already killed himself?
If I remember correctly, yeah, I think he might have
Oh.
died before it was released.
Gosh, because like I hate when shit like that happens when it's like, oh, was it an overdose? Did he kill himself? Was it an accident? It's like, God damn it! Like I hate fucking mysteries like that. I feel like it's one of those unsolved mysteries. You know, that is one of the stupidest shows. I hate watching that show because there's no solution.
No
At the end of
answers.
yeah, there's like, if you've seen John Dingle wandering about, and please call this number. It's like, no, this episode is from 1996, so no, I haven't seen him. He's dead. Like, it's unsolved. It never ends well. These stories. Why am I watching this? Just when you think they're gonna have some information. If you have some information, no, I don't.
Well, I'm going to go into my number 5, and this is a
Five.
place that I want to put another honorable mention. I watched the film the other day. I've watched it twice in probably the last 3-4 days, called The Golden Glove, not the Golden Globe, the Golden Glove, which was amazing. I love it, but it hasn't had a wide release yet. So that's the only reason that's not on my list. It would probably be in the top 5 if it was. So I just want to tell people, look out for that film. It's another serial killer film about Fritz Hanke, who was a real serial killer in Germany in the 70s. So keep a lookout for that. Jonah Dazzler plays Hanke, and it's one of the best performances I've seen this year. So keep an eye out for that. But I'm going to go on to my number 5, and it's The Irishman.
Mm-hmm. Saw this coming.
Easy pick. A very easy pick to be in the top 5. Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci. How could you go wrong? I was so hyped up to see this, and it delivered in spades. Not much I can say about this film that hasn't been said, but it follows pretty much the story of Jimmy Hoffa and his tie to corruption and the mob, and brilliant film. What is it, 3.5 hours long?
Yeah,
And
you said something like that.
yeah, I believe it's 3.5 hours long, or maybe even a little bit longer, and I never felt the runtime. Again, I'm not going to go deep into this film, but it's just magnificent. It's I think probably I don't think Martin Scorsese has too many films in him left. I know the guy's in his mid-70s. Same thing with Pacino, De Niro, and Pesci. These guys are getting old, and it was just great to see them back all together one more time. Well, Al Pacino never worked with Scorsese, but seeing Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Martin Scorsese together for one more time, and then throwing Al Pacino into the mix. Al Pacino, I think, has a very good chance of being nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I think his Jimmy Hoffa was amazing. And Robert De Niro, every time you think Robert De Niro is just kind of done, you start seeing him in these stupid movies, and you think back to The Godfather 2 and Raging Bull and Goodfellas, how he used to be. He puts out something like this and just shows how absolutely amazing he is. And the scenes when him and Al Pacino are on screen together, I just don't think you get too much better with two male actors. The chemistry, the level of ability is just pretty much unmatched when you have those two in the same screen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is he gonna be in there for supporting role for Joker as well, De Niro?
I
Yeah.
don't think he had a big enough part.
Oh, what percentage of your love for this movie would you say was the nostalgia factor? Because I know I feel that way when it comes to some of the Marvel movies that I love. It's really just like, oh, these characters are going to be together. When they're in the scenes, like those become like the most memorable scenes for me, or those dialogue. In Irishman, what percentage of it do you think was it that you loved the movie? Was it because you saw all these characters come back with these type of roles that you loved them in? What percentage would you say it was?
Nostalgia made me sit down to watch the 3.5 hour film.
Hmm.
How great the film is made me put it in the top 5.
Okay.
There's no doubt how good these guys were in the film and how well the direction was. So as sequels, sometimes you'll let it pass a little bit and you'll look over some of its flaws. But this film, it's one of Scorsese's best films. And that's saying a lot. If you look at Scorsese's filmography, it is amazing. It's absolutely amazing that one man directed so many important, masterful films. But this is in the top tier of those films. This is his best film, in my opinion, since Casino. And since then, he's put out Wolf of Wall Street, and he's put out The Departed, just to name, a couple of his big hits. And those are tremendous films as well.
I think one of his more modern ones was that I liked with DiCaprio was Shutter Island.
Yep,
That was
Shutter
Scorsese,
Island.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I especially liked because, and I only found out this after, and then I saw it for a second viewing for this reason. So when you watch it the first way through, dang, it's hard to say. So the reveal at the end, what it's revealed to be. Do you remember this movie?
Yeah.
So if you watch it for a second time after having seen it the way it is, I don't remember if it was Scorsese that said he did this intentionally or if it was just fans saying that it worked this way too. But you can, if you are able to watch it now knowing that and flip the story, it still makes sense, even with all the dialogue. Like it's so insane how well it works. And like I said, I don't remember if I saw a Scorsese interview where he said he intentionally did that so that things would work both ways, so that it would, so different viewers would end up with different feelings by the end, like how they thought the movie was going, or if a fan said that it just worked that way. But when I saw it the second time, I was like, holy shit, that's so brilliant. Like, wow, how cleverly done. But yeah, I love Scorsese films.
And who doesn't?
Yeah. I'm sure there's somebody.
Yeah, and they're not human.
They're not allowed in our group.
Yeah.
You're welcome in our group.
So you got to do your number 5 now for us.
My number 5. This one also came out in October. It is Little Jojo Rabbit. Jojo. Did you see Jojo yet?
Yeah, I was actually going to make a statement that I have not seen Jojo Rabbit or Doctor Sleep yet. Mm-hmm. So any fans of those films, it's not that I don't like them. I just have not seen them.
Man, they are just going to crucify you for this, for not having my list. You can see my list having Godzilla and Endgame already. I really don't give a damn what people think about my list.
Yeah. And then Jojo Rabbit.
Bring on the hate. Jojo Rabbit. Wow. I was shocked how much I liked it too, because I didn't know what to expect. Again, I don't watch trailers. So I was like, oh, okay, it's about kids, so it might be a little funny. Man, it was so good. It was so funny. And everyone sees this, that how Wes Anderson like it is. I mean, my wife was the first one to say it, and I was like, wait, this is very similar. I was like, he's not involved at all? And she's like, no, he's not at all associated with this movie. So whether it is an homage or maybe, to ride on that guy's coattails or whatever, but if you like Wes Anderson movies, then you'll really like the way they do this. Sam Rockwell, ScarJo, the talented child. Oh my God, this kid should be a nominee. I'm not sure he is. I know the movie is up. Actually, the movie is up in all categories. We saw that at a billboard while I was driving earlier today. For your consideration, billboards. Who else? Anybody else? Oh, Rebel Wilson. She was funny in it too. That one guy from Game of Thrones who plays Theon Greyjoy. I forget his real name, but
Alfie.
I think you're right. It isn't Alfie.
It's Alfie. I forget his last name.
That's good enough for me. Alfie, forget his last name. He is in it. Everyone does just a spot on, awesome job. So funny. Every scene is just gold. It's so. Oh, what's his name? Isn't it the person who he wrote or directed it? I don't know how to pronounce his name. Takika.
Yeah, he has he's like from New Zealand. He's a New Zealander, I think.
Yeah, he wrote or directed also that other movie, What We Do in the Shadows or something like that. That movie.
Oh, that's an awesome movie.
That was also really funny too. My wife suggested that one time, and I was like, "Oh, that was so funny." It's like a mockumery, like it's how like The Office does their
vampire and like a real world episode of the vampires.
Yeah, it's really funny. Like I never, like how do you come up with these original ideas? Like you'd think like everyone's just done it already, and then when you see these funny kind of ideas, it's hilarious. But Jojo is it takes place in 1940s Germany when Hitler's rule, and Jojo is a child who is being brought up in a very pro-Nazi environment when he goes to these kids' training camps. So teach young kids to sow that seed of Nazism in their minds and brains, and that they should go and fight for Germany and whatnot when they get older. And he begins to get influenced by people of different backgrounds in his life, from his mother and some of his friends, and he meets a particular person who starts to change him, and I can't even, like, this kid, I was blown away. It was a really good performance, and I'm not sure what his background is, but everyone except for maybe Sam Rockwell, but definitely ScarJo can't hold an accent. Everyone was just like, oh, it's terrible. I don't know, but I think ScarJo, I'll give her a pass for this one because I actually liked her role, her character. I tried to forget that it was her every so often, but her character was very lovable. She plays Jojo's mom.
I don't understand the hate for Black Widow.
You don't the character, or you mean her role in the movie? I
would thought you're so immersed into the Marvel universe that you would love ScarJo.
They don't do enough. Well, if you want to go there, they don't do enough for her character, and this is part of the reason that I don't like a lot of female lead movies. They don't do it well. They do not write these scripts well enough for a woman, and I don't know if a woman needs to direct these movies, but they just make them look like a guy. They make them act like a guy. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, it's not, I feel like they just equate strong woman, act like man. Like, just like there's only a couple movies where I saw like, oh, I really appreciated the womanly strength, the way they speak or the way they handle themselves in a fight. Like, it's not just about looking masculine or acting masculine. Like, that's the go-to for all these directors when it comes to fighting. But Black Widow, in terms of her comic book history and stuff, it's way more deep than what she does in the movies. And she really just comes off like eye candy and has no personality whatsoever. That's why I don't care for her in the movies. And same for Hawkeye. Like, Hawkeye and her have their own history and stuff, but they really stray away from that and stick to the core figures of Iron Man and Captain America and everything. So can't do anything about that now. Those are done and gone. Except for that movie coming up, which I don't know why they're doing it. I hope there's some reason, because there really is no reason. Spoiler alert.
Well, that almost leads me into my next pick a little bit.
Oh.
A strong woman lead who is also going to be in a Marvel film coming up.
I was going to say, David, did you ever wish you were more confident in life?
Yeah, sometimes.
Did you ever feel like your podcast partner always has the best insight on movies? Are you watching too many Marvel movies and your podcast partner is constantly criticizing you for your lack of art film experience? Now, those last two questions may just be for me. But regardless, This portion of the show is being brought to you by Joe's School of Assertiveness Training. Remember, if you simply cannot say no to anybody, then call one of our highly paid salespeople today at 1-800-555-SCAM. So I met this guy, and he just changed my whole outlook, and now, I completely understand where what I need to do to be more assertive in life. He took my money, and I realized I need to be.
Have you?
No, I haven't. But I see where I need more confidence in that area, where I need to be more careful with my money. I need to be more assertive when I say no, Joe. No, say no to Joe.
Say no to Joe. Well, I'm going to go into my number 4, which had a very strong woman lead, and starring a woman who's going to be in the Marvel Universe coming up here soon. And that would be Midsommar.
Who's going to be in the Marvel Universe? Who's she?
Florence Pugh.
Who's she playing?
I forget who she's playing. Who cares? Well, unless she's doing something.
Yes, and you throw shit like that, it interests me, and then you say, "Who the fuck cares about the Marvel movie?"
She's like Black Cat or some throwaway, some throwaway female superhero that we don't really care about. Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh.
Pugh. But this when did this little film come out? It was earlier in the year. July 3rd. Came out July 4th weekend. The follow-up for Ari Aster to Hereditary, which who doesn't love Hereditary? Awesome film. But this is a folk horror film that is about a group of Americans who go off to Sweden with a Swedish friend of theirs to experience the Midsummer Festival and find out that their friend is part of a cult. This movie is beautifully shot, great score, strong acting. I know you're not the biggest fan of it.
Nope.
It's one of those long art house films. And you haven't even seen the director's cut. They add another half hour in there for you.
Oh, God, where?
But this is Ari Aster's breakup film. Done in a very dark, horrific type way. A lot has been said about this film, and it does seem to be kind of divisive as well. Yeah, this is my number 4. I think Ari Aster's directing is amazing. I think the climax was very strange, and you kind of saw a little bit of it coming, but it does catch you off guard. It definitely has DNA from films like The Wicker Man, which I'm a huge fan of The Wicker Man, and Aster has not been shy about saying that he was influenced by those, some of those English folk horror films from the 70s. But I think it's just a brilliant film. I don't know what else to say about it. You have to see it yourself. I don't want to give away too much. Has some really good gore scenes, which you don't see too often in a lot of the art house horror films. But there are a couple good gore scenes. He kept a lot of the killing off camera though, and he did that intentionally because he said the most predictable part of these type of movies is the killing, and he didn't want to focus completely on that. So yeah, a lot of the murders are off scene. You do see the aftermath. They do this old Viking torture where a person's strung up, and they take their lungs out. They cut open their chest, take their lungs out. I think it's called the Eagle. I learned about this watching a Viking show. There's a show called Viking, And I read about it, and it was a real torture. And they take your lungs out and they hang it behind you like wings while you're still breathing, while you're still alive. So even the torture that he uses is specific to that realm, to that part of the world and its history. So, yeah, definitely check it out.
Is the main character that Ragnar guy in Vikings?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I'm kidding. Is he? That's not the same guy from. Oh my God, what's that biker show on HBO or something? Sons of Anarchy.
No, it's not the same guy.
The guy from Sons of Anarchy, the main guy, which I confused with this one when I tried to watch. Oh, Charlie Hunnam. I worked out next to him, so that was pretty cool. I was doing some tricep work on the cable machine, and he was finishing up some pull-ups. I looked his way, nodded. The whole interaction lasted about 10 seconds, but we were cool. We were really cool with each other, and I was like, whoa. I didn't take a picture. I thought about it, and I was like, it's probably not a good time. While he's stretching out right in front of me as like some weirdo. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't, but I messaged everyone. I was like, oh, cool. Saw Charlie Hunnam. And he had like a bandana on and like a hat, and so he was like trying, like those are always, the celebrities wear way too much stuff covering their face. It's like, oh, that's him. It's like if you're a celebrity and you like, sometimes there's like guys like, oh wait, I think it's like, no, if you can like tell like off the bat, it's like, no, he's not covered up enough.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys you don't know he's British until you hear him talk.
Is he?
Yeah, he's British.
Oh, see, I didn't know. I didn't hear him talk. We nodded. It was a mental, thing.
The English are so good, they even do better than American actors being American.
I mean, I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's easier to go from the British accent to an American accent. I want to hear that in an interview if someone says, is it easier to, because I feel like we feel there is no accent. But then when other people come here from overseas, they say, oh, the American accent, like, oh, we're all so open mouthed and talking. Like I've heard some of my Indian friends when I was in college, they're like, oh yeah, American accent. And when they try to do it, it sounds so insulting. I'm just like, I don't sound like that. And one of them said I sound like a donkey.
They say stereotypical things like, do you know anybody who's died in a mass shooting?
Oh, no. This was pre all those anyway.
Isn't that what Americans talk about? What mass shooting happened this week?
This is very topical of you.
Very topical. Do you want to bash Midsommar a little bit, or?
I would love to. So, Midsommar, not my favorite movie. Maybe it takes someone who has not seen very many of these kind of slow drain kind of lengthy movies where it becomes like about like you're getting into this cult and you start to realize the people around you are not who they kind of seem like. I feel like I've seen so many of those movies where I saw it coming and I was like, all right, get to it. And when it happened, I was like, okay, that's pretty much what I thought. And everyone was just creepy enough. I have to admit the very exact details of the end, I didn't see coming. But I'm either getting, and I'll bleep it out, I'm either getting a bear suit for next Halloween, or I'm going to get a cage and like use some of those pipe cleaners to have some little bees at the end. And then when people ask who I am, I'm just going to yell, they're in my eyes. One of those two things. Maybe I'll have like a Nick Cage mask on inside the cage. Cage. But one of those two things. But yeah, Wicker Man, if you've seen Wicker Man, I feel like you're going to get that hint way early and you're going to feel it as it comes up. And it was still good. I didn't love it, how much you loved it, but it was good. Like I appreciated the work that was put into it, and the acting wasn't terrible. It was okay. It was okay. The acting was okay. Like there
Well,
was sometimes where I'm like, well, just leave, just go. Like, I mean, so, but obviously not going
well,
to.
it's worth a watch just if you're into the technical side of filming. Just the production design, the buildings they made with all the original artwork, the location, the cinematography, the directing. Um, I think it's worth a watch just to see how precise all that is.
Mm-hmm.
I could see some people thinking it's too slow, but technically, it's technically really really good, even if you don't like the story.
No, yeah, like I said, and who's the best? I think what's her face, Pew, if that's how you pronounce her last name. I think I liked her acting the best. And then as the story winds down, excuse me, and her emotions as they start, she becomes more aware of the situation and what's going on, like just her reactions, and she did a very very believable job. I really liked her acting. I'll say that. She was the best to watch.
And I think I will be in a minority of some of my art house friends where I think Hereditary is a better film than this film. From what I've seen, most people think this is a better film than Hereditary. I think Hereditary is a masterpiece, but this is
Yeah, I loved Hereditary compared to this.
This is a fitting follow-up, in my opinion, and I can't wait to see more from Ari. To see what he has up his sleeve next.
I'm hoping Hereditary is on this list coming up.
Well, I would hope not, since it was 2018.
Oh, shoot. Never mind then. All right. So I'm at number
4.
Wait, you? No, me? 4. Me 4. Me 4 is okay. Well, should I not? I really hope this hits one of your battleships, but you're gonna love talking about it too. The Lighthouse.
Oh, you asshole.
Yeah,
you
there
knew
you
it
go.
was-
Come on.
You didn't even like it that much.
This is one of my favorite A24 movies of the year. I like to say A24. It is no, but I know you loved it. I really liked it too. This is probably the artsiest movie I've seen in a while. And I mean, Willem Dafoe, I haven't seen this good in a long time. And I mean, Robert Pattinson, I haven't seen this good. You mentioned that he was good in Rover before this, but I haven't seen Rover. So I was really surprised how well he did. And just the acting performances was amazing. Half the time, I wasn't even sure I cared about the story as much. I was just so thrilled just to see how their chemistry on screen together was just so, like, I just wanted to see them slug it out. And of course that happens. But but like, how early on you kind of want it to happen, and they're just like, they're at the brink of it, and then they just like, they just start joking and laughing, and they're just having a great time. I'm not sure half of this was even like scripted. It's just them talking and drinking and eating together.
Oh, it was heavily scripted. Like, it's so precisely scripted.
That's awesome. Yeah, I want to see the. Do you know if they have a direct? Oh well, it's not even out yet, right? So director's commentary. I'm saying, like, they have actors commentary with the scenes. Like, I want to see the whole movie with them just talking about the scenes in the background.
That's what it just came out on digital release this week, I believe. Physical release is the 7th of January. This and Joker come out on physical release the same week.
Gosh, I wish they would just do this for all movies. Just have the actors talk. I want to hear, like, maybe it depends on how well the movie's done. Obviously, how well the movie does, that kind of stuff actually shows up. Because sometimes I'm like, these shitty movies have like all this tons of these extras and actors commentary and bullshit. I'm like, who the fuck cares about this movie? Like, now all these extras, like 40,000 minutes of garbage. Like, I don't care who's buying this movie. Well, like,
unless you're the director from Talladega Nights talking about the filming process.
It's the whole movie. It's not like certain scenes. It's the whole movie. A whole separate soundtrack. But it's like, these are the movies I really want to see and hear, like, the actors, this scene was this and this, or working with this character. I love that kind of commentary. Like, I will watch a whole movie just to hear, like, the scene by scene commentary of this stuff.
Well, this is Robert Eggers' follow-up to The Witch, which is an extraordinary movie itself. But just so much behind this film. First of all, the lighthouse, everything on that island was built for this movie. And if you watch this movie and see it, it looks like it's been there for 100 years. The design, the production design, if they're not nominated for an Oscar, that's insane.
I would be surprised.
It probably won't be, but it should be. The fact that Robert Eggers had this film shot in black and white in a 1.19 to 1 aspect ratio, which is old school. That's what they used to do back in the 50s. He shot it with lenses that are almost 100 years old. So just the behind the scenes of what he did to put this film together, even down to the dialect that the guys are using. He did so much research. And the way he directed it, he would tell these lines and just listen to him interview. He's like, yeah, Robert, I like the way you said that. I want you to slow it down by 50%. I want you to speed up this part of the line. And he was so precise and exacting that it just blew me away. Some of Willem Dafoe's monologues were just Shakespearean. They the dialogue where he talks about his cooking is just one of the best monologues. It just blew me away. It's a beautiful film to look at. There's only 4 actors in the whole film, and the other 2 don't even have lines. So it's really just Dafoe and Pattinson. And I couldn't tell you who did a better job. Now, I know A24 is considering and asking for consideration for Robert Pattinson to be the best actor and Willem Dafoe to be supporting. But they both share pretty much almost all the screen time together. You see Pattinson a little bit more by himself, but the difference is kind of small. You really have a film with 2 lead actors.
Pattinson by himself. I know which scene you're talking about.
And when I first saw this film, I could not shut up about it. It was in my head to the point that I had to go see it in the theater again within like 3-4 days. So I sat through this film twice in the theater, and I think I loved it even more the second time.
You took your son the second time, right?
Yep, and he loved it as well, which he saw some art. He went to Midsommar. He watched Midsommar with me, but this one is a little more art house than Midsommar. It's a lot more visually and dialogue based instead of plot based. But yep, you stole my number 2 and my number 3, my friend.
What? How did I take 2? You were going to stretch out Lighthouse over 2 picks?
No, Joker was number 3 and Lighthouse was number 2.
Oh, come on, Joker. But you know what? Like, you shit on me for picking Lighthouse, but I did like it. I really did like Lighthouse. I was surprised how much I liked Lighthouse, because I was expecting it was like, oh god, it's going to be super artsy fartsy, because I'm not a huge artsy type. But I gave it a chance, and I was like, oh, that was really good. And I was surprised also how I was able to stay awake for it, because I saw it at like an 8 o'clock showing, so it ended like around 10 or 10:30 or something. I was like, oh god.
Well, the film, it transports you to a different time.
Mm-hmm.
You were there with them, claustrophobic in this lighthouse.
Yeah.
And it never breaks. You never feel like you're watching acting. You feel that Pattinson and Dafoe, even though both of them are very, as movie fans, we know who they are, but they never make it feel like they're acting. I don't see Robert Pattinson as Robert Pattinson acting. I see him as his character. Willem Dafoe the same.
Yeah. I mean, I was convinced those were Willem Dafoe's real teeth. Because they got up with some really close shots, and I was like, gross. Is that his real teeth? Oh, those beards were scraggly. His
And just to
nasty.
throw, and just like he throws in farts for a little bit of humor. Like you
I
have
think
this
they might have helped
serious,
me stay awake because that was a
you
late
have this
show.
serious art house film, and he has the dude farting like but that's
Gross
realistic. Two guys, trapped in this lighthouse together, cooped up. There's going to be those little things that annoy you about the other person. So it's Willem Dafoe's cooking and farting.
It caught me off guard because I didn't know. I was like I said, it's an artsy movie, but I didn't know. Like, I didn't laugh at first. There were several farts, but the first fart, some other guy laughed like in the row in front of me, and then I was like, yeah, that's supposed to be funny. Like, yeah, it's okay, it's a fart joke. So I chuckled a little after that, and just like I felt like it really woke up any of the guys in the audience. They were the only people laughing.
We were trying to find out what the symbolism was. So the gas is symbolizing
That's deep.
the bubbling in his stomach and
This is
and the release that he needs.
The story takes a turn. I'm waiting for the director's commentary at that point. He's like, if you notice in this scene, when he farts to the left, signifying the West Coast, and it's in the, oh god. I was like, there's gonna be something huge that I missed when I was just laughing.
Yeah, it's a brilliant film. I love it, and I'll have it when it comes out.
How many copies in every copy in every format? I mean,
I'm gonna see if they have it in VHS.
Do you have a VCR, or is it just for
No.
the collectible purpose?
Yeah, I don't even really collect them. We had some old ones in the house, but no, I don't. We might have a VCR somewhere.
Would you risk playing it on there?
No, and if you bought something, and they won't ever put this out in VHS, but if you bought something like that, you buy it just to collect it.
Because I remember you were talking to, I think it was Steve Rudzinski about releasing his thing on VHS, and I was like, that's just for a collector's thing, right? Because
Oh yeah,
I don't even know how much, like, to even find someone who's selling a VCR or a VCP somewhere at this day and age. Like, they probably sell it for like an ass load, like $80 or something now.
well, you will find some hipsters that the whole collectible thing is they just think it kind of just goes over their head, and they're actually sitting there watching VHSs.
Wow.
But yeah, if you love film, VHS is the last medium you want to watch it on, if at all possible.
I mean, just for archiving reasons, space saving reasons. Like, there's a number of reasons not to go with VHS. But like you said, if it's a collector's thing, then okay, fine, every format possible, I guess. Laserdisc.
Yeah, I have a buddy who still has some of those.
Gosh, I can't believe how large and ridiculous those things are.
But that was the best quality you could get back then.
Who thought that was? But it's huge. It's so. I couldn't. My friend had Enter the Dragon. I think that's what it was at my friend's house. They had a Laserdisc player, and I was like, "This thing is gigantic."
It was like a pizza.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Oh my gosh! It's like a sleeve. It reminded me of the vinyl. I mean, vinyl was like the biggest media for audio.
They were like 7-inch in diameter, or something like that.
Yeah, pretty big. Yeah, almost like I would say like double end to end, like DVDs almost. Like it was about that, little bit bigger. Gosh.
Well, you're gonna have to do your 3 and your 2.
Why is that?
Because you already took my 3 and my 2.
You could just say, you sound so sad. just you can do an honorable mention in between. You can just say, so you have a turn talking.
Okay, we'll do your 3 and I'll do an honorable mention.
All right, 8. All right, so my next one is my 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so 3. My number 3 is Dr. Sleep, which came out in November. I am not a fan of The Shining, and I know everybody else in the world is, but I am not a fan of the movie Shining, and it's maybe because I didn't fall in love with it at a younger age, and the age I am now and what I'm interested in, I'm just not a huge Kubrick fan, I guess. I have to really study and understand more of his style and his work and his previous movies and stuff to really appreciate it on the level that other people do. But I wanted to see Doctor Sleep as more of a standalone movie. And I feel if anyone is willing to give it a shot and watch the movie, forget there's a Shining, forget there's a prequel, forget that this is at all related to any other story, and just take it as it is, it's a damn good standalone movie. They give just enough. Like a lot of people were like, "Oh well, you got to understand the references that they make and blah blah blah." If you don't understand the references, because as each scene came through, and it was like, "Oh, that's that scene or that's that," yeah. There was some stuff related to that stuff. Like if you read the book, maybe that would help. That would be fine. But you don't have to see the movie. Like you would appreciate some of the stuff a little bit more, but I really liked imagining not having knowing that, how did this scene play out? And I really liked it. I felt like they did give enough about the past, enough information about the past to make this a standalone. And I liked that. I like those movies where they start with one movie and then the sequel is really a prequel, so they kind of hint at it. They do that mystery of, wait, I don't understand. Like we have to wait to learn about the past about this character. So if you look at it that way, I think it was really good. I loved it for that reason. I was surprised by how well Ewan did. Ewan McGregor, who plays grown-up Danny, who is the child, who is what's the word? Who is struggling with his Shining, his ability, his telepathic ability in the first movie as a child, and in this one he's grown up. He's not so well off in his life, and he encounters a number of people who have similar abilities, or at least abilities that it starts to turn in like there's other people who have other abilities anyway. Let's say. And he finds a purpose in his life, whereas he was sort of just kind of wandering in his life, not knowing what to do. There were a couple scenes that I was also surprised by the gore. The direct gore, the action that's taking place is off screen, but the child acting, I'll give away that much. The child acting was very intense. And having children, it's very difficult to watch, and it's still in my head, those scenes, and I can't even go back to like give it a second watch or anything. But my wife was in tears watching this scene. It was a kid right about the same age as our son. No, maybe a couple years off, but at least the same age as our daughter. And so when you see a scene with children and stuff, and you have your own, then things become relatable, and especially with this movie. And like I said, it's kind of a gory scene. It was sad, and it was longer than I thought it was going to be, which made it a little bit more disturbing and difficult to watch. So, I appreciated the acting. I thought Ewan did a great job, and the story stood well alone without the whole background of knowing The Shining, the whole story.
Yeah, I still have to wait to see that, but it's definitely on my list. I'll do an honorable mention.
For your number 2?
Well, I have to wait till my 1, so I'll do. Yeah, you just did 3, right?
Yeah, I think that was my 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, 2. So you're on 2.
Okay. So since my 3 and 2 picks have already been discussed.
You can do 2 honorable mentions in a row. Then how about
that? I think I'm going to mention what I think is the worst film I saw this year.
Oh,
I'm going to change it up a bit. So I saw this film, The Intruder.
Oh, was it that bad?
Oh my God! I might even rented it as one of those Amazon dollar rental things that just came out. It was starring Dennis Quaid, so I was like, it can't be that bad. In a horror film, they got a well-known actor. It's put out by Sony, so how bad could it be? And let me tell you, it is a train wreck. Um, the box art for the Blu-ray says it's a reverse Get Out.
Yeah, which I didn't truly understand. Yeah, a reverse quote Get Out.
Um, so it's basically a black couple buys a house from an older white guy. The black couple it's a wealthy couple in a wealthy neighborhood, and this guy just can't let go of his house. His wife supposedly died, and he didn't really want to sell, but he kind of needed to sell because of financial issues, and he just sticks around and kind of stalks these people, and it's just so bad. The acting is so bad. The plot is so bad that it was almost to the point where it was funny, but not. So it just makes it annoying. Um, so if you see this pop up on Prime or Netflix, just avoid it at all costs. You don't even want to waste the 90 minutes of your life. Unfortunately, the film didn't make a good amount of money. I hope they don't try. It made about almost 40 million on a $5 to $8 million budget. I'm hoping that they don't think that is a good idea to make a sequel because they made a little bit of money.
I was gonna ask you. I was like, was it good enough to make a sequel?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember some of it, and it's almost instantaneously unremember. I can't remember any of it. It's unmemorable at all. But I just remember the feeling I had of being really pissed off that I lost $1.
Oh, they had a budget of 5 to 8 million, and according to Wiki, anyway, box office 36 million.
Hey, that's a good return on your investment.
Oh, that's terrible because it was a terrible movie, though.
Yeah,
it's terrible to hear.
Yeah, it goes to show you, folks, you can make a terrible horror movie if you get your hands on 5 million, and
Yeah, I have a lot of terrible ideas.
Yeah,
somebody give me money to make a terrible movie.
Like Dennis Quaid, you haven't acted in a while. People know who you are. Come be in our horrible horror movie.
Is this a remake of something, a classic movie or anything? I thought I saw an old what's it called, like a poster somewhere.
There is, I believe, a movie called The Intruder, which this isn't a remake of. That was maybe a 70s film, much darker than this. Not the same premise, but the title has been used before.
Okay.
It has 32% on Rotten Tomatoes, and God, do they find, you know what Cinema Score is?
I've heard of it. Yeah. What about it?
It's like an audience polling that these companies do to get a rating from the audience.
Okay. Yeah.
I think they find the dumbest people. Like, who's breathing out of their mouth right now? Who has like Snickers crumbs on her face? Hey, come and take this audience poll.
They got a B minus. They gave it a B.
Yeah. Oh, fucking B minus. Well, 44% of them saying they definitely recommend it to other people. So if you're friends with somebody that was in that 44%, don't ever speak to them again.
Consider breaking that relationship.
Yes. They're not a good friend to have around.
I want to see a good Dennis Quaid movie before he leaves cinema. I kind of miss him from, I think I mentioned it before, the Frequency. Like, that was such a good Dennis Quaid movie. And I'm sure there's other ones from his younger days, but I really like that.
Well, his brother's totally out of his mind too. So,
which one?
His brother was
Randy?
the uncle. His brother was the uncle in the Christmas Vacation movies.
Randy Quaid. Yep.
Yeah. There's a good story behind that guy too, but he's absolutely out of his mind. But I don't recommend this movie at all. Recommend it to people you don't like.
This is a great mention for our top 10 movies of the year list.
So we're at your number 2, right?
My number 2 My number two features a movie starring Daniel Craig, not as James Bond, but
Ooh.
as a privately hired sleuth detective in the movie Knives Out, starring other guy whose name I don't know from Get Out, who is also a detective, the skinny guy. And I'm not going to take time to look it up because I said that last time too. Um, uh, oh God, I do want to find out her name though. She's gorgeous. What's her name?
Toni Collette's in it too from Hereditary.
Toni Collette is in it. Ana de Armas. She was in Knock Knock with Keanu and a couple other ones that were more American films. But anyway, Toni Collette is in it. There is what's her name of a Halloween franchise? Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah.
Don Johnson. Chris Evans, of course, which you may remember from Captain America. This is like, I'm always looking for when these guys are breaking out. Like, what is the next movie that comes out after the last of the Marvel movies? So I thought Chris Evans did a great job in it. It was pretty good. I liked his role, his acting. Everything was pretty solid in this movie. Daniel Craig starts off on screen with this really outlandish, just this strong southern drawl of an accent that just, it stands out so hard, and it's like, whoa, what a clownish character. And then as the story goes on, you fall in love with that accent because it's just so hilarious and so welcoming, and his character is just very warm, and he's just very genuinely interesting. And I love how you did that character. I don't know how much of it was really his own intuition in terms of how he was going to play the character or how much direction he had with it. But he did that really well. The other, oh God, who's my second favorite character? I guess it would be Chris Evans then. Like his role was pretty funny. He delivers that role as that spoiled brat rich kid really well. He's already got that sort of written on his face. It just, the second he shows up on screen, like you already see that, and it's good. Some of the banter back and forth between them, how they did the cuts with the family talking to one another, and it's really funny. I was surprised how much I liked this movie. Like I said, I always set my bar low, and I didn't watch the trailer, so I knew that it was kind of, the whodunit sort of thing, but I wasn't expecting very much, and it was like, did I give it a 9 or I didn't give it a 10. I think I gave it a 9. But yeah, really good. Really great performances all around, and the story was solid. I did see some of it coming, but still, story was played out very well. There was a lot of small things here and there that I had to see the second time around to really pick up on. But it was done well. I enjoyed it a lot. It was a good one.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list, and it's gotten nearly universal acclaim. So the critics are really behind this film too.
And I just heard he is coming back for another Bond movie. I thought he said he was done with that shit. And now he's like, they couldn't decide on a colored Bond character because I thought that's the route they were going recently. I even heard news of like a possible female Bond.
Yeah, I heard that too.
There was a huge uproar about that. Oh no, female. So just like, I get it. Everyone doesn't want to lose their masculine Bond man. But I was like, okay, chill the F out. Like, there's bigger issues in the world. Like, just if it bombs in box office, like, you'll see it. That you'll never see that role again. Like, don't worry. Just let it happen. Who cares?
I'm a huge proponent of speak with your dollars.
Oh yeah,
that is the best way to protest anything.
Like, what is that anger and fear? Like, where does it come from? When people speak out, like, oh no, how could you do this to this character? And blah. Don't go see it.
Well, I mean, I understand. I don't understand getting all up in arms about it, but I do understand the sentiment of, you feel like you're losing something. My issue is if you're trying to get a more diversified Hollywood, write new stuff, make new characters. Don't Is Samuel L. Jackson great? Yes, I love Samuel L. Jackson. Should he be Nick Fury? No, no, I mean, why not make a new character for Samuel L. Jackson?
Oh, well, I mean, that's the comic book guys, right? You gotta start appeasing them, and I think when you start straying away from some of the comic book storylines, it gets a bit dicey because then it's like, who are you trying to? Because they try to make things way more accessible to people, but at the same time sticking to these honest true storylines from the books and try to play it out. But we've had this conversation before about Marvel because I don't know where they are going with this. Disney is going to have to really plan this out carefully if they're going to try and make the billions that Marvel was doing on their own. Because I think Disney thinks this is going to be a walk in the park for them. This is not, and by all means, going to be easy to make the money that they hope to in next phases.
Stan Lee, they were talking about making a gay Spider-Man, and
Wow.
Stan Lee said, I don't want that. This is a character I created. I wrote him to be this way. And then people lash out against Stan Lee like he's a homophobe and racist. This is the same guy who wrote X-Men,
Hmm.
which was back in that time. He was voicing real issues that even today are still going on with people being treated differently because they are physically born different. He was making these statements a long time ago, and just because one character he doesn't want you to change, it just kind of washes away everything else that the guy stand for. I mean, Stan Lee has always been a pretty liberal guy and been a pretty strong voice in diversity.
He has. He has. I think that backlash comes from people who just have these high hopes once they fall in love with these characters, and then they want so much more relatable, like the nuances with these characters. Because as we modernize these characters and these storylines, and we bring them in today's timeline, and now, oh, it's 2016 here, oh, it's 2016 in that show, oh, it's 2020, oh, it's 2020 in that movie. So like you expect so much of these storylines to just fall in line with today's issues and today's topics, and when they don't, then you're like, oh well, this is not for me. Or how much is this director or this creator willing to reach out to his fan base, his new fan base? Because I don't know how many of them are homosexual, but I'm sure plenty are.
Yeah.
So like to make Spider-Man a gay character permanently, that would be very interesting. I would be surprised to see how many people would follow, because it's like, kind of with the James Bond thing. It's like, how to change him like complete gender swap and just make it a female James Bond. Then I'm worried, like I said, will these female lead, are they just going to make this super masculine type? Are they just going to switch every trope of James Bond to make it a female trope thing? It would be difficult for them to guarantee a fan base. And I think that's probably where their main focus is when it comes to that.
Well,
But I'm not opposed to it. That would be interesting.
as a white guy, I feel I've always tried to be empathetic to everybody. I mean, not as a white guy, just the way that I am. I
No,
try
it
to.
came out. The truth
I'm
came out just there. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm the type of person I play devil's advocate. I like to try to understand somebody's argument and kind of put myself in their shoes.
Mm.
But of course, my experience is going to be different than other people. Now, to ask you, would as an Indian American, obviously there's not much media out there portraying people from your culture in American society.
Right.
Would you rather see like them take Wolverine and just make him Indian all of a sudden, or would you rather see him write and create an awesome Indian superhero?
Oh wow, you had to pick Wolverine.
Or
Uh,
I just said that
uh,
arbitrarily.
you knew my deep love for Wolverine. That was pretty well subconsciously chosen then. Um, I would
Or
be
Iron
interested.
Man, say Iron Man, turn Tony Stark into, Tony Patel, or or just make a kick-ass Indian superhero.
Not Tony Kumar with four O's and 7 U's. How do you spell that? Kumar. Jackass Cal Penn would probably be casted for that shit and ruin everything. Yeah, I would be interested to see a Indian Wolverine, but again, like you can't just throw in new cast people because it's so hard to be honest these storylines and then as a director um, be original because you want that room to explore and to be creative, but at the same time be true to that fan base and show respect to these characters and where they came from and their backgrounds. Because when who's coming to the movies? It's not your buddies and your family that you're out there to please. It's the fans of these characters, the fans who know and love that, oh, in issue 421 of this blah blah, this happens, and oh, there's no way he would be seen with this and that. That's not what he looked. It's those people, those hardcore fans that are like would die to go see this movie. They're waiting in line to see these movies. So like I get I get that confusion and that difficulty and that stress that a lot of these directors face. And some of them just don't give a shit. They're just like, whatever. This was my vision. This is what I wanted to do with this character, and screw you guys. I'm the one getting paid for it. So,
well, it's a balancing act because not everybody is as liberal as say our train of thought, and you might lose some fans because you are changing things up. So I think it's like an economic balancing act. Do we think we can gain more fans by doing this as opposed to losing fans for changing it?
Yeah. So having said that, I would say maybe a new superhero. And I think that's what they usually do, to be honest. That's what usually happens when they want to, create this new department for a minority. They design a whole new character and make him like, oh, Batman just ran into his old Mexican friend, El Diablo, or something oh, hey, old buddy of mine who I've known for years, and this is our past. Here's your own movie. And they'll just have a cameo Batman appearance, like, oh, wow, he's in the DC universe now. Just some like bullshit like that. So I would love an Indian character like that, but they would have to really make it solid. Tony Patel, get the fuck out of here, Tony Patel. I don't want a new Indian Iron Man. That'd be quite a helm or a mantle.
You couldn't have a Chinese Iron Man because his equipment would be subpar.
Oh, well done. Hold up. For 2019, we have our.
He has like a Huawei interface.
Finally squeeze that anti-China talk. Keep buying foreign. Yeah, keep buying.
Hey, they can make a lot of stuff, but it just doesn't always work.
You don't love America, then you just get out.
Oh, I kid. I love China a lot more than our president.
There's 1 billion people over there. I think when I was looking at the stats, I think we have 2 listeners there.
2 listeners.
So listen, you stay listening, China.
Well, you put you add India and China together, that's like 1/3 of the population of the world.
Just 1/3? Is it? Oh yeah, no, 2 billion, and then we're at 7.7 now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, because you get about 3 billion if you add China, and India's probably like 1.4, and China's 1.6, somewhere around there. So
we'll catch up one of these days.
So yeah, over 1/3 of the population is insane.
Wait, over 1/3 of the population of the Earth is insane?
No, that 2 countries hold 1/3 of the world population.
I'm just trying to get you in trouble. Go ahead.
What other paganism and all that stuff?
I mean, there's been a lot of things you've dropped so far. You talk about your anti-China policies. Then you mentioned the what was the other thing that you have? You're white. Like you're a white privileged guy.
And I use a stereotypical Indian last name.
Jerk. Yes.
Hey, but if it was a white guy, I would say Smith. What's the difference?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, let me go to my number one.
Yeah.
You already know what this is, right?
Yeah, you're two, I thought. Was that my two?
You just did your two.
All right, fine. You're at one, I guess, then.
Didn't you just do your two? Knives Out's your number two?
Two Knives Out. Where am I at? 2, 1. Is that Knives Out? Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm going to my one next.
Okay. You already know what my number one is, I'm pretty sure.
Wait, did I already say it?
No.
Oh.
But I've been talking about this film forever.
Oh, gosh. Here it comes.
By one of my up-and-coming favorite directors, Mr. Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah, Mr. Bong.
You gotta love a director whose name's Bong.
Put on that bong.
But this is Parasite.
Yeah.
This was the easiest pick on my list. Rating. This was hands down my number one. Lighthouse was a hands down number two, but it's just a step below this film. The South Korean black comedy, thriller, family dynamic. This is another film that has its foot in a bunch of different genres. But it's a class struggle film. A poor family finds a way to get their foot in the door to become service work for a rich family. They do some service jobs, driver, teachers, and tutoring. Mom becomes a housekeeper. But it starts off as this dark comedy, and that last act just goes right into a dark thriller. We did a whole episode on this movie as well. But I just love this movie. I think this is maybe my second favorite film of the decade. Yeah, this is definitely my second favorite film of the decade, hands down. I only put one film above this, but it's brilliant. It's beautifully shot. The way that they use levels, the poor family and the poor people in general, or I should say, the rich families, they live up in the hills, and the poor families live down underneath them. The main family here, they live in the basement. Bugs crawling around, people pissing right in front of their window. So they're just in despair and hopelessness, and they find a way to try to pull their family out. But it's just done beautifully.
Yeah, if you want to hear our longer review on this, check out our Parasite spoiler review. I think it was back in episode 4, if I'm not mistaken. We made it like 4.2 or something. But yeah, it was really good. I knew that it was going to be on your list, so I left it out of mine. I didn't want to accidentally hit it. So you're welcome. I left it in my honorable mention list. But yeah, no, it was a really good movie. I liked it a lot. The acting was good. There really wasn't anything that I didn't like about it. But I don't know. It just didn't feel like a home run for me. Like, I liked everything about it and I enjoyed it. But there was just something, like, maybe I saw something in it that I knew was coming, or I just wasn't as surprised by everything. I think the ending, the very, very end, was probably the best part for me. When see the spoiler. see the spoiler review.
See the spoiler review.
Yeah, for more information on that. But it was a good watch. It was definitely one of the best foreign movies I've seen this year, for sure.
The film was a hit too. It did over $125 million worldwide box office, which films like this don't normally make money like that. I think this year we are really starting to see more high art films make money. Midsommar made good money. I mean, Joker, if you take away that DC licensing, that's like a indie art house film almost.
Yeah, it did feel that way.
and that made over $100 million, or that made over 100 million, made $1 billion off of that movie. I think it cost like $60 million to make it. But we're just seeing the Lighthouse did pretty well. So it's just amazing to see these more artistic movies making a ton of money. Like I said at the top of the show, this has been a hard year to rate. I think this is one of the better years in a long time for film, and it's just been a wonderful journey this year watching all these great films.
Yeah, I think I was surprised actually going through the list. I was like, oh man, what am I gonna pick for this list? But then I was like, oh, actually, yeah, there were some pretty good movies this year, and I'm not sure I felt this way, like you said, the previous years.
Yeah, so let's go on. What is going to be your big reveal for number
This
one?
is not. That's what I'm saying. It's not ranked, so don't. That's it. That's your number one. Very judgy.
No, we're all going to judge you as the number one.
Judge Judy over there. Judge Judy, my number 10. Oh, see, I just
Your
numbered
number
1
10.
through my number 1 through 10. I just numbered them 1 through 10. My number 1 came out in November. This boy, this actor, started out in a show a long time ago that I saw called Even Stevens, and eventually grew up to be quite an eccentric person in terms of his choice of roles and the kind of person he became in the public spotlight. Shia LaBeouf stars in this role as his father, and this is based on his real life story of him growing up as a child celebrity. And so he plays his father opposite to a child who is himself, who's representing himself. Saying this is harder than the actual understanding of what this is. Like, if you see the trailer, you understand what the hell I'm saying. But he is playing his father's role, and it's done really well. I don't know how else to say this. Like, it's very touching. It's very difficult to watch at times when you understand he is being honest about these scenes and what he went through, and then to play the aggressor in some of these scenes when he's his father, and to understand that, you know what I mean? Like, that's him playing against himself and how he viewed his father and the difficulty he had being raised by his father, who was had issues with cocaine, with drinking, being a retired vet, and difficulty finding work, and just the whole psychological issues they had between each other, and some of the problems they had to deal with just the father having to raise his son, who was a bigger success than him. And we're talking about his son being, I think I said 10 years old at the time, and that kid actor is so cute. It's so hard to see him like just going through some of the difficulty and like the trauma that he had to go through in that movie. But it's really, really touching, really great work. I hope they get some kind of consideration for something for this movie. It was done well. I enjoyed it a lot. I was surprised. I thought maybe like, oh, okay, they're just going to do like some drama stuff. But the way Shia does that role is really, really touching. Like you see he's really getting into it. And I know you were kind of criticizing me last time I said this. You're like, oh, it's so, isn't that a bit, would you say, was it a bit pretentious something to say that a 30-year-old actor could represent his own father or something? But
well, he's doing a life story, and he still has a lot of life to go.
It's representing a small portion of his life, right?
Yeah.
So but he's lived a lot of life, to be honest, like in terms of what he's gone through and stuff. And it's not a portrayal on where he's going, or like an outlook on like what life is about. It's simply just a story about his childhood and what he went through, and it's just sad. It's a little sad that he had to do that, but hopefully it's for the better in his eyes.
Do they touch on how bad the Transformer movies were?
No, they don't. I'm sure he owes a lot of owes a lot to the success of those movies for any money that he has and whatnot. I'm sure he would not spend his time shitting all over the people who have helped him
Now,
stay
I was
afloat.
just hoping kind of story was him and Dad had a great relationship until we saw the saw the Transformers movie.
Oh no, it's before that. So his childhood prior to the Transformers movies, when he was more of a
No,
teen.
that was just my hope.
Okay.
Like, I love you, son, and then he sees like Michael Bay's Transformers, like, get out of my house.
Get out.
You destroy my childhood.
Well, the dad takes it personally about his role. You were the worst Sam. That's not Sam at all.
Well, you
But
know,
yeah,
when they turn Optimus Prime into a Korean woman, I was so upset.
what? What are you talking about?
It was really a Korean woman playing Optimus Prime.
Playing Optimus Prime. What do you mean?
That's just going back to our joke of changing all the characters.
The gender swapping of main characters. You just have a Korean woman doing the lines. You're like, there's something.
A Curtis gender fluid person was playing Bumblebee.
Optimus. Just save them.
Yeah, that movie will have to be on my list as well if you're recommending it so highly as your favorite film of the year.
Based on like what you told me you liked and the stories that you said you enjoyed, I think you will appreciate it to some degree. I'm not saying it's going to be your top movie of the year, but put aside what
No, I have
issues you
respect for
with
him
his
as an actor.
age and stuff.
No, I have a respect for him as an actor.
I think
He's
you
had
would.
some good roles.
Yeah, aside from Transformers, you mean?
And he, even when he's passionate. That's what I like about him. He's passionate about everything he's in.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of respect for that guy. Even though Robert Pattinson, we all started knowing him from Twilight. So if he can go on to have,
you seen those movies?
No, but I have seen the Transformer movies. So
you gotta see. You gotta see Pattinson in the Twilight movies, so you know where he was and where he is now. Because you love him now, but you gotta see the shitty stuff Pattinson was in. Because man,
wasn't like Ryan Gosling in like the Mickey Mouse Club or something like that?
Oh, you comparing like childhood stuff?
Yeah. See, I won't go back and see that either.
Oh, okay. Wait, what's a good Ryan Gosling movie recently?
Ryan Gosling.
Behind the Pines?
Behind the Pines, Drive. Only God.
Drive. I love Drive.
Only God Forgives. It's a good movie.
That one I haven't seen. You mentioned that last time. So your refusal to see Pattinson Twilight?
Yeah, I don't need to see that. I'll just read the plot on Wikipedia.
Oh, that's pretty easy. Vampire love, vampire hate, werewolf loves vampire.
Yeah, throw a werewolf in there somewhere.
Gross. There's some stupid plot parts of that I can't even. Ugh. So dumb.
Well, all in all, man, 2019 was a good year for film.
Can't believe it's already on its way out, man. Just 5 more days, 7 more days, 8 more days. I can't do the math. 8 more days.
And getting ready for 2020. There'll be hopefully a lot of good stuff on the horizon for us to watch.
Aside from Black Widow, what are you looking forward to?
There's a film coming out called Saint Maud, which is a A24 horror film.
Oh.
So, well, you know, the
Saint Maud?
Saint Maud.
I see it.
I think A24, the art house horror that they're doing is just top notch.
Oh, is that what this one's supposed to be? That genre?
Yeah, it's every horror movie they put out, I enjoy. So I look forward to when they're putting out horror. And some of their stuff, they do a lot of coming of age stuff, and I can take or leave a lot of that stuff. But when they're doing horror, I'm going to be right there for it.
What about No Time to Die, the new James Bond movie?
Yeah, that won't be me.
What about Top Gun Maverick?
I have never seen a James Bond movie all the way through.
No, Top Gun is not James. What?
But I'm
No.
just going back to James
Oh,
Bond.
jeez. Yeah,
Top
you've
Gun,
never seen a single James Bond movie? Did we go
not
over
all
this?
the
I
way
feel we
through.
did.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, Top Gun. God,
Top
how
Gun.
old is the original? Was that 35 years ago, and they're making a sequel now?
I mean, it's about time. They're just gonna catch Cruise before he dies spontaneously because he just left Scientology, didn't he? If that's
What,
possible.
Cocktail 2?
Cocktail 2? Cocktail 2, the cocktailing. Top Gun 1986.
The Relapse, Cocktail 2, The Relapse.
So it'll be going on 34 years. Next year will be 34.
Not as risky business.
Less risky, yeah. It gets a safer rating.
Yeah. Oh, terrible.
What about, I know you're excited for The Rock's Jungle Cruise.
Really?
That's a
Is
yes.
that like the Disney World ride?
It's a Disney movie. I'm sure they're trying to spark up
Jesus.
some other thing like how
Are
they
they
did with Pirates of the Caribbean. And
Oh my God! Have you ever? Well, you're West Coast, but
I am.
the Disney that's like the worst ride at Disney.
All the more reason. I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean ride I heard was not the biggest site there either, and that turned out to be
I was a
great.
poor kid. I was a poor kid, so I didn't go to Disney until after Pirates of the Caribbean. So
Okay.
they probably rescaled that and made it much better. It wasn't that bad.
With new like Johnny Depp wax figures on the side and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. You saw Captain Jack Sparrow all over the place, but yeah, that's terrible.
What about Bad Boys for Life?
I know you're looking for that one.
I grew up with Will Smith. I still have a soft spot for Will Smith. Like they are not huge blockbusters anymore, but I don't know. One of these days he's just gonna stop making movies, and some other person's gonna fill in that spot, and it's gonna be a sad day.
Maybe it'll be his son.
There's a Godzilla vs. King Kong movie coming out.
I might see that one.
Yeah. See, there's something big, non-A24 that might be interesting. Quiet Place. Did you ever see Quiet Place? Because there's a sequel coming out.
I think that movie was highly overrated.
I liked it. There were so many plot holes.
Yeah.
A bit unrealistic, even for a weird alien monster movie about how well they can hear. How
like they never coughed or anything, had a sneezing fit.
No, whoever coughed is dead.
Yeah.
That's why those guys never coughed. They were too smart to cough.
And it took them that long to realize what they were sensitive to.
What do you mean?
They're sensitive to loud noises.
Oh my God. I mean, it was a specific frequency. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right.
Oh God, go back to the office, Jim.
No, it's too late. It's too late. Steve Carell's gone. There's no going back. When Steve Carell left for good, it was just like, no.
Comedic actors trying to get into the horror realm. Well, I wonder if we'll see more of that in 2020.
Right? That was his
written and directed. But a new Saw is coming out starring Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson.
I thought they were coming out with something for this past Halloween, you said, and that never happened.
They were working on one with Chris Rock.
Oh. Chris Rock.
Chris Rock is going to be in the Saw franchise.
In it, or is he actually is he directing or something?
No, he's acting in it.
Oh, that's weird.
That's so weird.
Following Untitled Saw project, Samuel L. Jackson, Chris Rock.
Good lordy, good. What, you remember that character he did?
This is
good lordy, Jigsaw. How about I just give you my left arm? You can let me live.
So that's going to be Saw 9. It's supposed to be a reboot.
Yeah, who knows what the hell they're doing?
It's moved to May 2020. Wow.
So we'll have to be on the lookout for that.
Oh no, I hope they do it justice.
Wait, are they calling it the organ donor?
That's what I see, this subtitle or something going, Saw 9, the organ donor. Although I don't know if that's a joke.
It has a Wikipedia page.
Oh no. Well, everybody can edit wiki. Yeah.
Chris Rock plays a character named Zeke.
Oh god.
But well, Halloween Kills will come out this Halloween.
What is that? I saw Jamie Lee Curtis is doing something. What is Halloween Kills?
That's a follow-up to the last Halloween film.
Oh, with Curtis when she's an old fart and she's got her grandchild now.
Yeah, well, the series, what happened is the Halloween that came out was about a year and a half ago now. That was supposed to be a direct sequel to the original Halloween. So what they want to do is reboot the series and make that Halloween 2 pretty much, and then we just ignore the rest of the films.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of those.
So now this will be in this timeline like Halloween 3. But with Michael Myers as opposed to the one without Michael Myers.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's going to be weird. Because how many storylines, popular storylines like these have, like, this is going to be a third timeline then, right? Because Rob Zombie recreated it.
Because with the H2O, this would be like a fourth timeline.
A fourth one. So, but it's going to have Jamie Lee Curtis, though.
Yeah, there was another kind of reboot too with Jamie Lee Curtis that acted like some of the other sequels didn't exist.
Oh God.
At a Rob Zombie time, yeah,
because that's on its own.
Yeah, that's on its own. So yeah, this was the third change.
That's weird. I don't know how they're doing this stuff.
But you know what? I enjoyed the last Halloween.
Which one? The
one 2018.
It was okay. It was fine. It was fine. The climax was pretty good. The scene
where he is walking through town and it's all done like in one take with the camera, just following, floating inside houses, outside. I thought that was brilliant.
That was a lot of fun to watch.
Scene. Yeah, that was amazingly done. So I'll see. I'll give it a chance. Yeah, we'll just look out. See, we'll still be here talking about films in 2020.
Hope so. Can't make any promises. But if you guys are still around, we'll be around. Also, what are we pushing now at 300 and how many people? How many members we got now?
It was over 360.
We're at 367 at this very moment. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Feel free again to share. I know I mentioned in the group, but share your reviews with us. Let us know some non-spoiler reviews, please, and preferably with a poster, movie poster, because some of these movies have all the same names. But if you can share with us the year and have a movie poster, a lot of them, just let's look online, grab something, throw it in there, and we'll approve it. And share the movies that you guys are watching too. And if you never know, we might be watching them at the same time, and we might take your recommendations and talk about them on the show too. So, yeah, thank you so much for all of you who have joined us and who are contributing and just getting these conversations going on the group, because it motivates us too to get talking. And definitely when you guys answer our weekly questions and you give us some feedback on like what was our last one, or for the top 10 movies, or when we had our what was the last one we did?
Movies introduce children to horror.
Oh yeah, that was really awesome. There was so many of you. Gosh, you guys just had first this, then this, then this. I'm like, holy cow! I wasn't expecting so much detail. I was taking notes. I was like, yeah. I just showed I watched Gremlins and Ghostbusters with my kids this past 3-4 days, and I was like, yeah, these were really good intro movies, because my daughter was like, oh, those weren't scary at all. And like I was kind of worried at some points, like jump scares and stuff, but no, it was perfect. So I'm keeping an eye on this list to see where to go next. So thank you to all of you for that stuff too. The next time you'll see us, it will be 2020, and David will be another year older.
Yeah.
A few more gray hairs will be on that man's head, because that's how age works.
Yeah.
Somewhere on your beard, in your nose, there's hairs everywhere. One of them is turning gray at every moment.
It's distinguished. When you're a man, it's distinguished.
It's only distinguished if it's cool.
Yeah,
like Tony Stark on the side, or like, who's that, Mr. Fantastic?
George Clooney's been salt and pepper since he was, 25?
He's been dyeing his hair with that Just for Men's for a while now. That's why. You got to get that. I'm going to send you that in the mail. Just for Men. That's our show, folks, for the week and for the rest of this year. We'll see you again in 2020. Thanks for listening to Coast to Coast Film Reviews. I'm Raj. Have a good night.
And this is David. Have a great time of day.
Episode 10, man. Still can't believe it.